Welcome back to Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. This is Juliet Hahn here with my co-host Brent Sopel on a Monday before Thanksgiving. How are you?
When's this going out?
This is going out in the new year. But
this is going out in the new year. So
this is going out
we might have to slip this one in.
I know. As I say, it might doesn't.
Might have to slip this in.
Right. It could go in after the first week of December because we have one thing.
I think it probably a good spot for it.
Or
because
it could
of everything that's going on with it. So why don't you start how we got here? Well, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So I've got so much to say.
Thanksgiving week. All right. We're entering the holidays. Again, everything we're going to talk about today comes from pain. It's not anger. Well, there is anger. There's anger. There's anger and hurt.
Yeah.
In this, that
exactly.
I thought about this. People think on here that I'm negative. I can be that kind of guy, but it's all coming from pain. And we're going to talk about IDA and the definition, but let me preface, none of those board members who are making the decision on IDA wake up thinking they're stupid every day. I do. None of those board members think they don't have a skill. They bring nothing to this world. I do. None of those board members who made the decision think about suicide every day. Well, they might, but if you don't have 1 and 2, 3 doesn't come into play as much. I do. And that's who's making our decisions in these things. These
who are the loudest? Who are the loudest in this right now?
Who are loudest? Who are putting out definitions of dyslexia? They don't live with anything. I do every day, every single day. It's almost when my last wish, when I die, my ashes might get sent to IDA to show what kind of blood is on their hands. Right? Because I'm not the only one. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of people that are the same as me. International Dyslexia Association. Is that what? How is it?
International, and it's been around for 70 years.
It's been around for 70 years. So something that's been around for 70 years is really, if you've been around for 70 years, now let's just use this for Autism Speak. Autism Speak's been around for 15 years, 20 years. Why do we know everything about autism? And let me rephrase that. We don't know everything. We know a lot about everything, right? Autism.
Mm-hmm.
They're 15, 20 years deep. IDA, International Dyslexia Association, 70. Yeah. And we don't know fuck all. So, they might get my ashes. That might be my wish. To show what kind of blood that's on their hands. Those people don't have any of these feelings that I do every day. And there's millions and millions and millions and millions of kids that feel this way.
Yeah. And I just want to state, so the episode that went out went out Thursday. What date was that? Can you look as we're talking? So it went out on Thursday. We talked about the definition of IDA. I read the definition. It was a vulnerable situation.
So that's the 20th. That would have been November 20th.
Yeah. If you go to the YouTube video of it, you will see I show the definition. Didn't I hold it up? So you can see how everything is spaced together. It's all smushed. So I'm coming from, there's a lot of layers to this, but the first and foremost that I have to get across is that the fact that I'm not even talking about the definition. I'm not even talking about everything that Brent just talked about. I'm talking about the fact that was approved and sent out on a website. So someone said, okay, I'm putting it out and checked it. And the fact that they let it go out with the font the way it was, there was letters cut off at the bottom. The G's were cut off. Now listen, I understand we all make mistakes on our websites and some things like this. But I'm coming from, they have been around for 70 years. They are where parents in schools, or when a neuropsych diagnose someone, they say, if they don't know the whole world of the, the neuropsych, but if the dyslexia, they're like, hey, go here because they have the most resources. They do conferences. They put conferences on throughout the year. They put teacher training on. You can get credited. They're at universities like University of Georgia. They have a program for dyslexia. Okay, so people look at them as the experts, and they put a definition on their website that someone that has dyslexia, or someone that has a kid that has dyslexia, goes to it. You hardly can read it because of the font. That is my first thing. And I want you to sit and think about that, because right there, it shows that we're not sensitive to this community, because you would double check it and be like, oh wait, can everyone read this? And again, I'm not going into the definition. I have a problem with the definition, but I'm not even going into the definition. I'm going into the way it visually was put on a website for dyslexic people. There is no way in hell someone fucking said, oh, this is a good idea. It's because they don't understand what we go through every day.
And, don't care.
Exactly. They 100%. It's
don't
not.
Care.
They don't care.
They don't give a fuck. Everything I said. People might think it's harsh. Talking about committed suicide and sending them to ashes. That's what goes on every day in the dyslexic world. That's what it is. Like the calls I get. This is how I feel today. Like that's okay. Second about like who gave them the right. This is one thing. There's no headquarters for dyslexia. These are board advisors. They care about their paycheck. They care about their ego. They don't care about the kid in the chair. They don't care at all. You would never do any of this stuff if you cared. But you've been around for 70 years, and this is the dyslexic world. And I'll tag this within some more understanding. Is there's also, Julia, have you ever joined a league in something that you sucked at?
No.
So I love golf. If I do suck, but if I was horrendous, would I join a league in it? No. I can't swim, so am I joining a swimming league? Maybe to die, pick me off the bottom of the pool. No, nobody joins a league. So there's something in Syracuse, New York called the Reading League. It tells me right there that it's ran by people without dyslexia, because no dyslexic would join a reading fucking league. Meanwhile, I know people that know them, and I know they got a multi-million-dollar donation that's blacked out, can't be traced. Oh, it's funny. And why I mentioned that and why I'm tying the two together is proving they don't care about dyslexics. You name it the Reading League, right? You had anonymous multi-million dollars donated in your account to start this. Oh.
It's all about money.
Hold up money. That's all about here. And I go back to IDA. The board members. I'm on a board, right? I'm on a big board. Look at my ego, my pocket protectors, my paychecks. They're not here for dyslexics ever. And it proves it. Colleges, or we wouldn't be having this problem if IDA had a clue what they're doing and cared, and it had people with dyslexia a part of this. We would never be having these conversations. And this is what's going on in the dyslexic world. See, even my dog's getting pissed off at them right now on a Monday morning, right? It's heartbreaking. It's why parents can call me and call us and say, we don't even have to even say anything. We can look at another dyslexic and know that we're understood, right? There's a reason why we say you're not alone. IDA, they don't care.
They don't care. You go to their website and you can see that they don't care. It's so overwhelming. And I'm not going to get into it if you guys want to listen to my rant. But my whole point is, after this, and thank you for sharing all that, Brent, because it's relevant to the feelings behind all of this.
Correct.
If you go, and then I'll just preface, there was someone on LinkedIn that put some information out helping people navigate the definition. And I was reading some of the comments, which I typically don't, but one of the comments talked about our podcast, about word blindness, and about, that we talked about this. And I was like, so I introduced myself and I said, yeah, I have a huge problem with it. I think it's ridiculous, and went back and forth. And it's really nice as this individual broke down what the definition to help people. But I said, but why? How about all the people that don't go on LinkedIn? How about all the people that don't know who you are? How about all the people that are sitting there going because they're like, oh, everyone's talking about a new definition. Is this going to help me? And you go and you feel even more stupid. I said, it is so crazy. And then I had a lot of people send messages to me in my Instagram DMs, text, LinkedIn DMs saying, thank you so much for your guys' podcast. I just went to listen because we feel the same. And either they were a part of the definition, because apparently it says underneath it, this, the definition was by the board members. Right. Apparently they had parents, dyslexics, board members, and a bunch of other people. It went through rigorous, okay, final stages, and then was put out. Okay, I've heard from 2 people that had said that they were part of that, and they did not approve it, and it still went out. So there is so much. And then I had parents that actually wrote into IDA and said, I'm not dyslexic, but my daughter is, or my son is, whatever. There was a few people, and I don't know how many others, but some that reached out to me just to let me know, thank you for the podcast. I actually went in and sent an email, and really? And they went in and said, this is horrendous. Like, who approved this? Why? This is ridiculous. And then on Saturday morning, I went to go show my mom the definition because I was, still on my rant. And I was like, they changed the font. Interesting. Now, again, I'm not getting into the definition because I don't agree with the definition, but I also I'm not saying like that's a whole different thing. And I know you have like so much to say right now. And I just wanted
to touch on what you said. So, people, you just said there was people a part of that in that room with IDA who did not approve this, which tells you that it was done by the board. The other people are just smoke and mirrors. And back to my point, they give a fuck about their paycheck. They give a fuck about their title. I sit on how many boards as, a rich person does. I sit on this board. I'm on 22 boards. Well, next board, when I do die, maybe it might be my ashes on that table. We'll see what, and I have blood on it to see what they think, because they clearly don't care. We just got that information inside. And people always think we're kind of crazy with some of the stuff that we come up with, like Reading League. I know people that know them. They don't even know how many people. My kids are born in Syracuse. I know there's money, millions of dollars by a black market person that got donated in their account. So I know what's going on, and it just proves that we're on the right track. What we're talking about, that somebody confirmed to you what you just said, that they were in the room, they're a part of it, and they did not approve it, and it still went out. That's how much they care about dyslexic kids.
And we say on every podcast, this, as Brent said, this is coming from hurt. It brought me back. Obviously, if you listen to the other podcast, it brought me back to when Montgomery was first diagnosed, and I went to go get support and help, and I was like, oh my God, like this is like made me feel even dumber than I felt already. And, there's so many, they did it personally. Now, again, assumption's death. We also say that. So I'm saying, in my opinion, they did it to become relevant again. They just had, one of their conferences. They're trying to do more in the dyslexic community. Maybe someone can come back and say, hey, I actually really feel this way, and I don't appreciate how you guys are assuming that this is how we feel. Action. There's a lot of people can put words together, but actions speak louder than words. And the action of putting that definition the way it looked, and I'm going to go back to that every single time, and I don't care if someone can fight and yell, oh, it was a mistake. It was no. You don't put something out and then talk about it in the dyslexic world like we came out with a new definition and then have people go to that. And if no one said anything, this is what we probably will never know, but like, was it really just that my LinkedIn conversation and our podcast that made and then people going in, or did someone like how many, there's no way in hell that people were like, this is a great idea. And if they were in the room and they approved it and said this was a great idea, they have no balls. And if they're a woman, they have whatever. I don't even know what you want to say. But they basically were yesing people to death. And I have no time and space for people that yes people to death, because you need to be authentic and you need to stand by your truths. And if you really thought
what you said, like the lady said, she was in that room, right? To your, I just want to add to your point that they didn't agree, right?
Yeah.
And what did they do?
Exactly.
So it's, and this individual is part of IDA, right? And doesn't even know who the board members are. And you're part of it and you're contributing things to it.
Yeah, that's two separate things. But yes, there's the person that doesn't. Yes.
Right.
They weren't the person that said that they didn't approve it, but yes.
So nobody knows who the board members are, or, it's.
Because they used to be. You used to be able to go on and look at IDA.
There. Now it's funny how it's gone off, right? So, it's, and I'll take another angle. Who gives them the right? So we always talk about dyslexia. There is no headquarters for dyslexia in the world. So groups like IDA or like the SOAP Foundation, we could create a word for dyslexia. Or excuse me, a definition.
I think we should.
We could. But who gives them the right to? Who wants to listen to them? There's nobody controlling this. And this is what also, we could do one and they could do one. There could 60.
Well, I sent you a couple. Yeah, I was like, there's a bunch of different definitions that are out there that are floating around.
Back to your point, you're trying to make them relevant again, trying to put money in their pocket. They're not trying to do it for kids. Let's be clear. It's not for kids. It's not for dyslexics. They don't care. You wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't go through. In 02, they did a definition. Who gives them the right?
Because this is what we talked about the other day. And I said, this can be fun because we can debate about this. And debate about it meaning like no one gives them a right, but that's not like my problem because anyone can put a definition. Yes, I think that there needs to be bigger controls, and like that's part of the whole dyslexic world problem is that it's like a fucking wild west where anyone can say anything, and whoever has the louder voices or the more money or the more clout is the one that's going to get ahead. But if they are going to get ahead and they want to, if they want to own it, then fucking own it and do it right. If you want to be the ones that are going to be the voices and you want people to go to you want teachers to go to you to learn, you want parents to go to learn, then fucking do it right. I don't need to be in that playground. I don't need to be in that sandbox. You fucking do it right. And if you're not going to do it right, step the fuck aside because you're hindering. That's my whole point.
No, and I agree with it. And I'm saying that as to show where they stand, right? To show how they don't stand. In the dyslexic world for the parents, a parent hates when their kid's struggling. It kills them. And then they open up their website or open up their or you're going to go and find the reading league and say, and that's the dyslexic community, the reading league, people that don't have dyslexia is the one trying to tell us what to do. So I can't tell you how to feel when you were pregnant. You guys would all look at me like I'm an idiot. So why aren't we looking at IDA like they're fucking idiots? Reading League, why aren't we looking at them like they're fucking idiots? They're scum. And I'll call I've said it to every one of their faces because they don't care about us. You cared, you wouldn't do it and do the things you're doing.
The thing that, and I've gone back and I've said this a million times, it might have started in a place of someone wanting to make change. Maybe it's a parent, and I think the Reading League is a parent and their child is dyslexic. That started it. No. Am I thinking of the right one?
No, a Reading League, when you get millions and millions of donations and you've got your name on a school in Syracuse University, you don't get there for no reason. You got there with so I'm not even going to say they did it for the good reason. Fuck them.
Right. Okay, so we won't use them as an example. But I do think everything starts, we all were born with good hearts, right? People they're not born like, oh, I'm going to be an evil person. I don't really think, and I know we all have different thoughts on this, but I don't believe that people come into this world bad. There's circumstances that makes them, twists them. And usually it has to do with money. And that is one of the things. If you look, you go to IDA's website and it is just, they make money on a lot of different things. And again, if they were doing a really good job on things, I would be like, okay, you know what? I don't agree with the definition, but okay, I wonder where they came up with it. All the other stuff that they do is really good, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think people that are behind it, I really don't think. I would love to do a poll and really ask people, okay, if you think they're good, tell me what you think is good about it. If you're a teacher and you're a part of their, what is it called? Additional credits, whatever it's called. If you're a teacher and you've done training under IDA and you think, you tell me that there's good things, I want to hear about that. If you're, you go to their conferences and you learn stuff, I want to hear about that. But I think if we all really just sit down and really think about it, I think there's a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know if that's right, but I don't know what's right, so I'm just going to go with these guys.
We're not here saying we're the best foundation. We know it all.
No, not at all. That's not what we're doing.
That's not where, so like the Reed Foundation in Orlando, Florida, not ran by Dyslexic, but they're the best, just ask them, right? You go, made by Dyslexia. Okay, they're both dyslexics, not caring about kids. Right. So that's not our wheelhouse because we care about the kid in the chair. If we take care of the kid in the chair, we're not worried about the bullshit that made dyslexia. I mean, again, Richard Brant's one of the richest people in the world. Whatever, Griggs or whatever her name is, one of the richest people in the world. So don't stand there and think that you're like me who thinks about suicide every day. You're not, right? So don't play that game. Right. So we're not talking about we're the best foundation. But tell me how many of them are ran by people that have these feelings, know what these feelings are, right? Because we're talking about the brain. It's not a broken ankle, how to fix it. Like we don't know. We only know how much about the brain. I've heard less than 5%. That could be wrong. We don't know anything about the brain. And if you don't have something that goes on in the brain, how are you supposed to tell us? And these are the people that are controlling. We wouldn't, if IDA cared, we wouldn't have 50% of people in prison in the world being dyslexic.
Right.
If they didn't care.
Right. And I would love to know when those numbers continue to increase, because 70 years, they've been around for 70 years, and 50% of people in prison are dyslexic.
Yeah,
so
we've been around for 8 years. So big difference. Like I'm not doing the math. That's like 62 years. Right. So, my dad and my parents were very born. Right. So you don't care. If you cared, they're finding the way to make the most money for longevity. Because when you don't have something, you're not affected like we are and the way we are. And they don't live the same way. They don't understand the way. They don't eat the same. They don't do anything the same way because you don't have that. And you had mentioned people are born with good, with good hearts, but things derail that. Yeah, fucking dyslexia, non-diagnosed dyslexia. For me, I was diagnosed, when I was 32, but I really didn't know what that meant till I was 40 because I was still playing. So I basically equivalent myself at 40 years old being in grade 5. I thought about this week, right? Because I had to, first time, nobody's ever hired me. I've been retired for 10 years, trying to find a job. 10 years, nobody's hired me. Not one person. I don't have work experience. I get dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, ADHD. What can you do? No, I can't type. I can't send email,
Yeah. And I want to go back to the Made by Dyslexia because they do a lot of speaking. They have Dyslexic University. They just put out an email about, the athletes and all of these things. One of the things that, again, we go back and I wasn't even thinking about comparing the foundation and what I'm talking about people taking action and doing things. And Made by Dyslexia. You kind of brought it to my attention, like, well, really, what has he done? And it made me think. And I was like, okay, well, let's think about some of the stuff. I know some of the quotes and some of the social media and stuff they put out, I actually resonated with, and I really liked it. And I stood by that. I was like, I like that. And then when they did but then I was like, okay, I'm going to think about this. But then when they did we're teaching all the New York City teachers about dyslexia. And I was like, okay, this is actually really great. I was really excited. And I was like, okay, I'm going to then go back and show Brent. Guess what? They actually did. They are doing good things. I know you don't love them, but they are doing good things. We started talking to a bunch of teachers. I talked to a bunch of my teacher friends. I talked to my cousin who's a principal.
You're from New York, so let's be clear. Like you grew up
from the city.
You're in the city, so you know these people.
Yeah. Asked around. Yeah. Ask them to ask around. Ask them to ask around. Ask them to ask their friends around. And every single person either said they didn't know what I was talking about, or they did it and it was the biggest joke. And I was like, what? And then we found out Microsoft needed to needed to spend money. And it was like, oh, this sounds good. And they ran with it. And that is the kind of things I don't have patience for. I don't have like that. You're dead to me now. Like, you know what? Go fuck yourselves, because that is bullshit. Don't sit there and talk around that you did it. Okay. Say you went to go do it and it didn't work out the way that you wanted. Then say that and own it. Yeah. We had the good intentions, but it didn't work the way we wanted. Say that. Don't continue and say, everything they say, we've educated every New York City teacher on dyslexia. No, you fucking didn't.
And let's compare this to what people know. Cancer. Everybody knows cancer, right? Basically, made with dyslexia is okay and happy and trying to diagnose cancer at stage 5. We're Sopal Foundation trying to get stage 1. Or before it gets stage 1. That's the difference. They're good with stage 5. Why? Because the workplace, they're trying to find people to work for them, is what they're trying to do. But they're okay at stage 5. They're okay at getting stage 4 cancer, dying in 2 weeks. That's basically, kind of the simulation of when they want to find, be okay with dyslexia, right? They're okay with finding it at 4. I'm 4. Does it look like I'm okay?
What's the thing? Because they know that they can't make a difference where that is, because it takes a lot of fucking grit and a lot of patience. And
they haven't had problems. They grew up rich, right? Again, that doesn't make you right. They haven't suffered. They were diagnosed, and this is the thing. They were diagnosed early. So guess what? They're diagnosed at stage 1. I'm happy for them. I don't care. They were diagnosed. Amazing. You're proving my point. Not stage 4 like me.
Yeah. So I just think it's very interesting that the font was changed, and spacing was changed. When our episode went out Thursday, there was a whole discussion on LinkedIn on Friday. And Friday, it wasn't Thursday.
People are listening.
They're listening. Yes.
People are listening. We've said it. So great job by you, by reading that, so this episode goes out to you for doing a great job reading it. Cause I would have never, got through. You did a great job. So we definitely had an effect in getting it changed, but it's just sad.
It's really sad because it really doesn't, it's still, people need to be better, period. They need to be better in so many different worlds, so many different things. I know everyone, is suffering this and that, but everyone, it just needs to be fucking better.
You said earlier, care. Do they care? Or do they say they care?
Oh, words, yeah. Actions, you can say you care all you want, but we don't. And that's the thing. Like, even if someone from IDA was like, well, wait, because this is what I had so many people being like, Juliet, they changed it. Isn't this great? And I was like, yeah, it is great for everyone else that goes and doesn't see it the way we saw it, because guess what? That put me in, and that's shit I have to work on. I get it. Yeah. It's stuff that I have to clean out of the closet because I didn't realize it was going to tweak me as much as it tweaked me. Except, guess what? Now I've always known IDA. I've always been like, since Montgomery. So listen, but they keep making their bed or whatever, putting the nail in the coffin. I don't know what the fucking term is. But
so when you were growing up, did your mom tell you go look up the definition in the dictionary?
Yes, that's all I got. If I or if I asked how to spell anything, she would sound it out.
So you had to go to the definition in the dictionary, which is a pain in the ass to find, but it gave you the definition, right? Oh, i.e., you put out a definition where you need other people to break it down for the definition. So is that a definition?
No. And you know what? And I don't think I'm going to go real quick because as I said, I spent Saturday with my mom, and we were talking about in certain states because she's a teacher and there's things that she doesn't always. She thinks that I get a little aggressive on some stuff, and not in a bad way. She's just like, well, she likes to debate about it. And I was telling her about all the states, that are lowering the reading proficiencies, so like it's lower and lower. And she said something to me that she's never said. And I was like, She's like, yes, you were like 1 point off of the lower one. So they didn't diagnose you or they didn't identify you in school. Say it was like a 16, you had a 17.
Yeah.
So they were like, and that's why I went undiagnosed, all through school. And it was like,
really? Am I catching what you're saying right now?
I think maybe you need to say it.
So they tried to identify you when you were in school, in elementary school, and you ended up with 1 point shy, which is a 17%. If you're 17% and over in schools, they won't identify. So you're telling me you were 18%?
18 or 19. Oh. I was right there. So I just got the support, but it was like, oh, you're just dumb. Right. And now we know that doesn't. But like when she said that to me, I was like, why didn't she's like, I've said this to you before. And I was like, all right. And that's why my older sister had different labels, but I didn't. But again, they don't identify dyscalculia.
That makes a little more sense though, right?
Yeah. Or dyscalculia or dysgraphia, right? Yeah. They didn't do any of those. And so that's why ADHD in college was my first thing because, so I was like, aha. And I was like, Mom, they're even lower now. Like, that's the thing that's like a joke. It's like because of COVID, they realize they can't catch people up. So they're like, well, we're going to lower it even more.
Yeah. So right now, to touch on those numbers for listeners. So if you try and get identified in school, if you were above 17%, you don't get it.
In your reading proficiency.
In your reading proficiency, thank you. Don't get diagnosed. So if your kid came home from school and said,
or identified, because this is school.
Identified, right. Thank you. If I came home and your kid came home and was just pumped, I got 20%. This is amazing. You'd be like, fuck you.
No. Yeah.
20% is not good. But it's okay for a kid to be at the 20% reading and now they're okay. They meet that. Mm-hmm. Again, IDA, where are you on that one? I don't see you running states. I don't really see you moving that up. Tells me again, you don't care, right?
Yeah, those 70%. Things are things that should be fought for.
When you're driving, Thanksgiving, people are going to be driving. So when you're driving, you're like, oh, there's 17% of gas in my car. I got 3 more hours to go. Is that a good thing? Probably not. But it's okay. We'll just leave it. We'll just test it. We'll just try it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I learned that this weekend. I was like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew I remember her saying like, yes, well, they identified you with some, like you got extra reading because you were low, but you weren't low enough. And then they were like, well, you're low enough, but maybe this is all you can do. So I was one of those kids that was like, you're dumb. Mm-hmm. This is the best that you could do. And as I said, I probably took the test and I had like, number 15 and was like attention deficit out of control. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to leave it at that. Thanks for listening for another episode of Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. And IDA, just be better. Yes. Great that you changed the font. Glad you're listening to something, but how about you do better in everything? Because look at your whole fucking website. Okay. Like, rate, review, and share.